Now, sometimes we have multiple tables and we want to combine the data in those multiple tables into one single table. So this is called in Power Query an append query, and it's a vertical merge. So you're basically combining the data in a variety of tables into a single table. So let's have a look and demonstrate this. We have got a customers query here. I'd like to duplicate that, so I'm just going to right click and duplicate it. And then I'm going to rename customers to, using the F2 key, customers data. Okay, now in the customers data, I want to make sure I only have 4 columns. I want the ID column, so I'll keep that. I want the company column. I don't want contact or title, so that goes, and I'm just going to scroll to the right because I just want name and phone. So I'm going to, actually, contact, I'm going to rename. Press F2 and call that name. Title, address, what else? All of these other columns I don't need except for phone. So I'm using my control key and I'm going along, choosing the columns I don't want. Here they are here. And so I'm going to remove those columns. Okay. Fax and orders, remove those columns. So I've kept just ID, company, name and phone. Now if I look down here, there's 91 rows. So 91 rows are going to be coming from the customers data. Now let's go to suppliers. I want to duplicate that. Now I'm going to go Control C, Control V. That's copy paste. Then I'll press F2 and I'll name that suppliers data. So I copied and pasted suppliers and I rename it suppliers data. And again, this needs to be ID. So I'm just going to click the column heading, press F2 and type ID. Then I want to have company instead of company name. So I'll press F2 and just call that company. And then I want name instead of contact name. So I'll press F2, rename that name. I don't need contact title. All I need is phone. So I'm going to go along selecting all the columns I don't need using the control key, except for phone. And I'll delete them all. So I want to keep phone there. So I'll remove those columns. And then these ones, right to the end, remove as well. Okay, so that's suppliers done and customers data done. Now let's have a look at employees. Might be a little bit more work here. Click on employees, Control C, Control V. Click on employees 2, F2, and call it employees data. Okay, rename, a query name employees data already exists. Okay. Close. Let me just click on employees data here. Right, let me just rename this one. Employees data original, or I'll just call it version 1. Okay, and this one I'm going to call employees data. So you can never have 2 queries with the same name. That's good to know. So in this particular table, I want to have this, which is ID. So let me rename that ID. Now I do want to have company and name and phone. So I want to keep this one, F2, call that company, drag that to the left. So I've got ID followed by company. Now the name is, I don't want this here, this full name here. So let me just delete that. I just hit the delete key. I need to merge the first name and the last name. Let me put first name on the other side of last name. Select these 2 columns using the control key. Add or transform, probably transform. Merge those 2 columns. Put a space between the first name and the last name. And give it the name, and OK. And so I've created a column called name, which is the first name and last name joined together. Now I don't need any other columns except for phone. So let me just choose all the other columns I don't need. So those are all to be removed on the Home tab. Choose Remove Columns. And these ones here are all to be removed as well. So I'm just selecting all these columns and remove columns. So again, I'm left with the 4 pertinent columns that I need. Okay, so in customers data, we have 91 rows. In suppliers data, we have 29 rows. And in employees data, we have 9 rows. So we have a total of 129 rows. That should be the final number of records that appear in our merge table when we do our append query. Okay, so let's do an append query. On the Home tab, what we're going to do is choose an append query, this button here, and this window comes up. Now we're going to be merging more than 2 tables. So I'm going to say we've got 3 or more tables. I want to merge the employee tables, that's already added. I want to merge also the customers and the suppliers data. So those 3 data tables, employees data, customer data, suppliers data, all need to be added. And when I go OK, then that will create a new table and it will have appended all of that data into that new table. Now I didn't actually want it to append it into this particular employees table. So I'm going to delete that append query. Let me just delete that. I didn't want the data to go into the employees table. I wanted it to go into a new table. Okay, so in that situation, when you go to the Home tab and you go to append queries, you've got to hit the drop down and say that you want to append as new. So I choose this option here. Again, a window comes up. Again, I'm saying that I'm appending more than 2 tables. It's 3. I choose the tables I want to append. So that would be the customers, the suppliers, as well as the employees. So those 3 tables. And when I go OK, then I get a new query called Append 1. And it has got 129 rows in it. Some of those have come from the employees data, some of those have come from the customers data, and some of those have come from the suppliers data. So when you have multiple tables that you want to put all into one table, you can run an append query. And if you want to put all of them into a new table, then run the append query as new. Try to make sure that the columns are consistent in terms of their name and their order so that it knows how to append them. And so I can easily then rename this, click it, press F2 and call it master list. And this is my master list that has got information from these 3 tables all in the one table. So they call it a vertical merge and it's an append query.